garden gals and guys, it's Steph with Tiny's Garden, and today I'm going to take you on my cut flower raised bed tour. I've got 14 raised beds that I have completely planted now, and we're just getting toward the end of June. Today is May 26th, so I wanted to give you an update at the end of May to see how everything is doing. I am in Zone 5B in the Chicago suburbs. Let's take a look. I'm going to take you through these based on chronological order. So the things that I planted first that I'm actually getting ready to turn over into dahlias and zinnias soon, and everything else in chronological order after that, just so you get an idea of what's been in the beds the longest, what's been in the beds for the shortest amount of time. Here we go. And here's our first bed, Iceland Poppies. I've been keeping my subscribers updated on these Iceland Poppies. This is the first year that I've been growing them, and I have to say I've gotten about 8 blooms. I cut off the ones today earlier, but I'm really happy so far with them. This side over here is the Botanical Interest Nautical Blend. This side over here I struggled with much more. You can see they're a lot smaller. This one was the Champagne Bubbles from Florette, I believe. So I have gotten one little bloom off of this side. Was definitely not as big or as healthy as that side. And you can see there's a lot of stems that are gonna pop soon. So overall, really pleased with the Iceland Poppies because thumbs up. We've been able to get some blooms and they're growing. Iceland Poppies are notoriously difficult to grow, but I'm hoping next year I can really dive in on the Champagne Bubbles and get them to grow well, because I think the colors in that mix are just stunning. And this was put in probably early to mid-April. This is the very first bed that I planted, and you can see that in my Planting Iceland Poppies video. So these babes are looking good. They don't like hot weather, so I'm gonna turn this bed over shortly after a lot of these are done and plant either zinnias or dahlias in here. Next, right above this, we have stock. Stock I also planted in a video in April. It was shortly after the Iceland Poppies, and you can see we've got some blooms. These two are the only two that were transplanted up. I forget why, but I needed to transplant those up. And you can see size-wise, they're the largest. So next year, I think I'm going to try and pot a lot of my stock up, because I think it just gives a little bit better of a bigger, sturdier plant. But overall, I'm seeing a lot of doubles in the ones that have bloomed. I did that video Culling For Stock, which is where you go through and select for double blooms. Although I do think I see a single one right here. See how it's not doubled up, it's just single, as opposed to that one. So that's okay though. I think most of them are double. I'm happy with that selection. Single is the only difference, is that it just doesn't have a double bloom. It still smells incredible. Still looks pretty in an arrangement. So that is my stock. Next up, we have these two beds through the middle here. This bed is full of Bells of Ireland, and they are really starting to put on some growth here. I have not grown them before, so I don't know how far away I am from some blooms, but I can tell you most of them have put on substantial growth. Keep in mind we've had a really extra cold spring and wet spring. So some of these, like this one, you can see are not as big or healthy. I'll probably take this one out and put something else in it. So there are some yellow leaves. I think that's from too much water. But overall, they're pretty perky. I've got some good sized ones, so I'm happy with that. I did plant a cerinthan here that I started from seed, and there's this one that does not look very healthy, but I only had a couple make it out of my vacation absence. So I'm excited to see what this looks like. And really, I should probably just pop a new one in here, just a Sorrento seed and maybe one in the corner. But otherwise, we've got a lot of bells of Ireland in here for a great filler flower. To keep you up to speed, this is my first extra large year growing a lot of cut flowers. I grew a cut flower bed last year, my tiny cut flower garden, which I'll link that video below, and it did really well for as small of a space that it was in. So I, of course, got addicted and decided to, you know, let's really explode and run with this thing. And now I've got raised beds. This one here is one I would change. I'm figuring out quantities, how much I need of everything, how much I want of everything this year. And I can already tell you this early in the season, I probably didn't need this much bells of Ireland or bachelor button, but let's take a look. So here is the bed, the second bed that's right underneath the first one I just showed you. And you can see the difference in size. These came from a different cell tray than the others. Overall, they're pretty healthy besides this one. That's a dud. That's going to be pulled out and replaced with something else. But if you look at this, I have all of these. I don't know how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And all of these. I probably don't need that many plants of bells of Ireland. So that's something I'm learning this year. One would probably be plenty. So this, I still might turn and burn this for some more vocal flowers, like a zinnia maybe, or something that really shines in the summer. And down here we've got bachelor buttons. Now these have put on substantial growth, and looky there. That is actually the first bud that I've seen. Yay! That's a bud there, folks. Excellent. The bachelor button's getting ready to explode. So they're looking pretty good. Some are definitely smaller than others, but some have decent growth too. And look at this one here. That's also a really good size. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. I didn't have a great bloom from the single line I planted last year, so I'm curious to see how these do and if I'll replant any. Again, probably don't need half a bed. These beds are 7.5 feet by 4 feet. Probably don't need that much bachelor button, but writing it down and the things I've learned for this year I can use for next year. Okay, now we're coming to the ones I'm looking the most forward to, Snapdragons. I love Snapdragons. I did a lot of Madame varieties last year, which means they're kind of ruffly, super gorgeous. This year, I've done like 7 or 8 different varieties, Potomac, Madame, some that are totally different and unique. So let's take a look at all my Snapdragon beds. So here in this bed are the first Snapdragons that I planted. We have Costa Apricot in here, the ones that are very tall and about ready to burst. Check that out. That's gonna turn into a bloom, nice bud. All the ones that I have not pinched, which are the ones that are very tall, are getting ready to bloom soon, which I cannot wait. And the ones I have pinched, which look like that and have more than one branch, are putting on growth and are going to bloom soon. This one I stuck in here after the fact. This is an Opus 3 Early Sunrise, I believe. No, Opus 3 Early Bronze. A little bit of insect damage there, but it still is looking good. Then as we come up, we have different varieties here. You can see the difference between all of these. Right in here, these darker colored ones are day and night Snapdragon. They're staying fairly small and compact. So we'll see, hopefully they keep growing and bloom into something beautiful, because I've heard they're really stunning in their color, a red and a cream. And then up here, we've got another unique one called the Rembrandt Snapdragon, which is a Hudson Valley Seed Company one. Day and night is Botanical Interest, and the Costa Apricot and Early Bronze are Johnny Seeds. So again, these Rembrandts are staying on the more petite side, but they have put on some growth. So now we just wait for those blooms to come. And here is the bed right above that one. This one was the one that I left all not pinched in my difference between pinching Snapdragons and not pinching Snapdragons video. And I went through, I think last night or the night before, and pinched every other. I decided to pinch every other and let some of them that are taller, like this one here, is going to bloom before this one here that I just recently pinched. So they're all looking healthy though, growing, putting on growth. This one is an early bronze as well that I stuck in there. So we'll see, time will tell. I cannot wait to have these blooms though. I think that's when bouquet making can really fire up. And this right here is my drip system that I'm using this year. I had an irrigation guy help me put it in. It is the BTT Hunter system that connects right into our sprinkler system. And I have a 1/4 of an inch drip tubing in here, and I can manually program this to water every so often on a schedule, or I can just do it randomly, manually when I want it to water. So really, because we had a hot spell there for a while, it was unusually hot right after it was unusually cold. I was watering pretty much every day, but I backed off of that now, again, because we've gotten so much rain and I haven't had to run it manually in a while because there's been a lot of rain. So either way, I'm really happy to have it. It definitely beats doing it by hand, especially because I don't have like a hose link out here or anything like that. So I'm really happy with it so far. It's been easy to set up and use. Da, da, da! Look at those pansies! We've got color all the way around here. Just as I anticipated, I'm so happy with that. This one's my favorite one. Those pansies all from seed. It just came together really nicely. This one's here is looking good too, a little more purple heavy, but we've got some of those brush stroke violas in there. Gosh, they're so beautiful. But it's filled in nicely. Some of these blotch pansies really getting some height on them. And I love this little peekaboo over here. I didn't plan this. Of these white and purple ones. It's a nice little pop in that corner. So that's been fun. Those came together well. Let's move on to the back. Here we are in the back. I've also got so many seedlings left over here. I'm trying to find a space for all of them. But my goodness. These are so pretty. Still blooming right in the cell tray. Starting back here, these two are also Snapdragons. I told you I went heavy on the Snapdragons. I have just pinched these in this bed, all of them, so that's why they look pretty small. And right in here, I am letting these bloom. None of these are pinched. They've put on substantial growth, and hopefully we'll get some blooms off of them soon, since they haven't been. And I don't even think I labeled what's in here. Oy vey. Could probably step up my ID tag game next year. But they're looking healthy, they're looking good. Some of them, like these three over here, have multiple stems coming up just from the bottom. So hopefully it won't be long and we'll have some blooms out of here. Next we have Foxglove in here, and a lot of these I didn't necessarily tape because I just wanted to get them in the ground, and this is definitely one of those beds. I've got Foxglove back here. One of them over here did not make it, that blank space, so I need to put something else in there. But I've got Dusty Miller in here as well. And it's actually looking a lot better than when I first planted it. They weren't in the best of shape, but it's finally starting to put on some growth. Like that one's looking good. So I'm gonna let these babies continue to grow and see how they do, because I would like to have some of that really unique color, and even the texture is like a velvety in bouquets. And this here is a surprise guess. I threw some anemones in here that I thought were just not gonna work, but I thought I'd give them a try, and I'm wondering if that's what that is. Oh, that would be fun. But back here at the end of this bed, we have Potomac apple blossom, it looks like. Yep. Right through here, stuck some in. And in the back, these are Sahara Rudbeckia. I had room at the end of this bed and I wanted to put something in there. So that's bringing up the end here. In this next bed, we have scabiosa, or pincushion flower. And we also have some weeds. So we did the method where you put a lot of organic matter at the bottom, and that included my compost pile. But I think in that compost pile, I had something like this. I don't know what it's called, but it's popping up everywhere through here. So I just pull them when I find them. Probably a rookie mistake, but it's all right. We're rolling with it. These have put on a lot of growth. I'm really happy with them. We've got Fire King on this end. Little bit of insect damage. Not bad though. Also a little bit of yellowing of the leaves from all the rain. But again, not bad. Coming up here, this different foliage is the Fama White, and it's also put on some growth. And then black here, I believe, is what's called the Black Knight. Let's double check that tag. Yes, Black Knight. Overall, looking really good. And I have not grown this before, so I don't know exactly when to expect blooms. Sometime in the summer. I'm hoping June. And back here, we've got some more of the Sahara Rudbeckia, which has put on some growth as well. Gosh, I really need to come in and weed this. Next, I have what could potentially be my most proud part of all these raised beds, because I worked really hard at these ladies, is the lizianthus. I did a video on transplanting these out, and they're growing, putting on growth. I think they've probably had more water than they would prefer, but overall, we're looking good. So I hope we keep trucking here. I've got Arena 3 here that's hanging on. That's one of them that I'm most looking forward to. Voyage 2 Champagne's in here, Doubleini White. I've got several different varieties. Voyage 2 White. I'll just kind of throw every picture I can on the screen that's going to be in here, but it should be lovely. Look at that one. Oh, so exciting. So they're coming. They're growing. Keep growing, girls. Keep growing. Then at the end of this bed, I just put this annual flux in recently, and it was in the cell trays a little too long. It started to get a bud. So I went in and cut some of these, or pinched some of these, and you can see where it's starting to produce new shoots. I've got a really good example of that right here, so you can see what that looks like. On this end is the cherry caramel flax, and this is the one I'm talking about. If you look at it from the side, you can see one shoot, two shoots. This is where it was cut off, and I would say that was a week or two ago. And look, it's producing new shoots. So we'll have more blooms, which is exciting. I think I did every other on here. So some of them have a single stem because they weren't blooming yet, and so I just let them go. I probably should have just pinched all of them, to be honest. Let me know if you pinch your annual phlox right away or not. I know Nicole on Flower Hill Farm does. There's another example of 2. But I'm looking forward to these. I think these are gorgeous, and I've got more over there that are now budding. I've got to get them and find some room, but I'll talk about that in a second. This here is the Cosmo bed, as well as the Zinnia or Zinnia bed that I just planted recently as well. Great growth here, looking really good so far. And then we come to the last 2 beds, saving what is potentially the best. I'm kind of hoping the best for last, the queens, the dahlias. So this was one of my most recent videos. I just planted these 5 or 4 days ago, and I'm not seeing any new growth that wasn't peeking through the soil. But I will say what I am seeing is the ones that I planted some of the pre-sprouted growth above the soil. This one's tough to see. Let me try and get you right down there. Yeah, you can see a little better. Is looking healthier and is upright and strong and growing beautifully. So that I'm really happy about. This one here too, because some of it was looking a little weak and I was a little worried. But that looks great. This one might be new. I can't remember if this was peeking through or not, but that's excellent. The Joey Morella looks way better than it did. Really happy to see that bounce back. And then these two, which were the biggest, are also looking pretty good. I'm a little nervous about that one because I think the tuber head's poking out a little bit. But so far, okay. Now, generally when planting dahlias, you wouldn't necessarily water them till you see some growth pointing through the soil because you don't want the tubers to rot. I'm a little nervous in these raised beds because we've had so much rain, but I'm hoping most of them are okay. We'll see, time will tell, right? But I am very excited that the growth that was already poking through is looking even healthier. I feel like that's a great sign. So stay tuned, but the dahlias so far, I think, are looking pretty good. I do have several more dahlias to put in the ground, including some I just bought a few days ago. Dahlia addicts will be dahlia addicts, won't we? But I'll find a place for them in the landscape. And that is the tour of my raised bed cut flower gardens. The one that could maybe be classified as that is right here, which was my tiny cut flower garden last year. Here is the tiny cut flower garden that was super prolific last year, and I was so happy and got me addicted to expand. And we're filling in nicely. This is actually a few, I would say probably a week or so later than the rest of this video because I hit time warp instead of regular video record. So you couldn't hear anything on the last bit of this video. So I'm redoing it today, but you can see sweet peas are starting to climb. Snapdragons have good growth on them. We've got some blooms over here from our heirloom electric blue sweet peas. So this bed is coming along. And cue surprise outfit change. You'll notice there's been a little bit more time in between videos with this last one. We were out of town for Memorial Day weekend, and I have some exciting updates that are new for our family that I'll be sharing in the next video. But thank you for watching. If you can see behind me, I've had even more explosion in growth since I taped this video. So stay tuned for an updated tour. Comment below and let me know how your cut flowered garden is coming along. Share everything. I love to hear. Please like this video if it was helpful or you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one. Subscribe if you haven't yet to follow along here with all things garden. Thanks for watching. Bye!